Trump is losing it, as Jimmy Kimmel completely destroyed him over his court rejections. Trump's day wasn't very good. Jimmy Kimmel joyfully revealed in court that, first up in Georgia, a judge ruled that Trump could not use his free speech to persuade election officials to alter the results. Next, in Florida, a judge that Trump personally selected ruled that he could not bring secret documents to Mar-a-Lago while serving as president. Finally, in New York, a judge rejected a motion to postpone the Stormy Daniels hush money case.
Judge ruled hush money paid to an adult film star is not related to a president's official acts, which I'm pretty sure, and I'm not a historian, but I'm pretty sure is the first time a judge has ever had to say that. Don Provolone has a long list of charges against him, but I feel like we all want to see him taken down by the porn star one, right? I mean, that's the fun one. Grab him by the mushroom, Stormy.
As he breaks record after record, it appears like Donald Trump is on a quest to create history.
April 15th is going to be a big date for Donald Trump. It's the first time in history a former president will be held accountable for cheating on his taxes and his wife on the same day.
The court in the Florida lawsuit heard evidence that Trump mishandled his presidential authority by maintaining sensitive materials in multiple locations.
In the Florida case, that Trump kept classified documents in a variety of locations. Not only did he have them at Mar-a-Lago, he had them at his house in New Jersey, he had them at Trump Tower in New York, he had them on his plane, he had them in Eric's bouncy house, in the envelopes. For the birthday cards he never sent to Don Jr., under his My Pillow, he had them everywhere.
Donald Trump's last-minute attempt to postpone his New York hush money case was denied by a state appeals court judge. With just 1 week until the commencement of his first-ever criminal trial, Trump continues to attempt to postpone it. Here is MSNBC's analysis of the situation.
There are two things, Andrea, going on here. First of all, these are not motions to Judge Juan Merchan, who is the trial court judge here. This is a request to the appeals court directly overseeing him. That's the Appellate Division of New York and what's called its First Department. And there are two requests in there. One is to change the venue of the case. The other is to terminate the gag order that you know Trump is very upset with. And on both of those bases, Trump has actually sued Judge Merchan himself.
According to a court document, the former president filed a lawsuit against New York Judge Juan Merchan. Merchan placed a gag order to prevent parties involved in the case from pursuing attorneys and their families, but the court records are still confidential. Additionally, Trump's attorneys requested that the case be moved out of Manhattan, arguing that the city is biased against him and that he wouldn't receive a fair trial there. However, a judge denied Trump's request on Monday to postpone the trial while he attempts to change the venue. The appeals court will discuss Trump's request to lift the gag order. Here's what CNN's Kara has to say about this.
And saying that the majority of them thought that Trump was biased. Well, the prosecutors opposed that argument. They said that Trump was making this argument far too late, just 1 week before the trial is set to begin. They also said that the place for the judge and the jury to be decided if this jury could be fair would be in voir dire. That's when the judge carefully polls and questions all of the jurors, and there's participation from
Trump's ongoing legal battles are the first of 4 potential criminal trials that might start in the upcoming months. His first criminal charges were brought against him last year. A grand jury found him guilty of 34 counts of falsifying company documents to pay Michael Cohen, his former attorney. Cohen had set up a hush money arrangement to stop reports about Trump and his extramarital affairs from reaching the general public. The Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, is in charge of the case. Cohen asserts that Trump misled his business into believing the alleged payments were legal bills to hide the reports that would have damaged his candidacy in 2016.
They also said about publicity, they said this case is not limited to just Manhattan and New York City. It's an international story. One of the attorneys for the prosecution, Stephen Wu, said to the judge, the mere fact that jurors know about this case is not an indication of bias. This is the defendant coming into this argument with unclean hands because publicity, in large part, is his own make.
Trump's lawyers filed their filing after Bragg's office turned down a request to have the judge removed from the case. According to the district attorney, this was merely another attempt to undermine the court and carry on with the attacks in an effort to undermine the impartiality of the trial. The district attorney's attempt to continue the trial indefinitely was evident in the motion. In a key fraud case last year, Trump's lawyers similarly attempted to have gag orders lifted by challenging the judge in court. However, the appeals courts rejected the request, and the gag orders were stayed. The former president is not allowed to make any such remarks with the goal of materially interfering with any work linked to the case, which is set to go to trial on April 15. The judge issued this prohibition earlier this month. Mr. Bragg had requested a limited gag order in February, citing Trump's extensive history of disparaging remarks made against the legal system, prosecutors, and prosecutors, court employees, and other parties involved in his backlog of civil and criminal cases. The haunting social media photos by Trump, one of which shows him seemingly holding a baseball bat behind Mr. Bragg's head, were brought up by the district attorney's office. They also talked about 2 disturbing letters that contained white powder that were sent to Bragg's place of employment. According to the prosecution, Trump routinely yells at juries and other participants in his legal matters. Attorneys, court personnel, and witnesses are concerned that Trump's comments may influence the verdict in the case. The judge imposed an even more stringent injunction last week that forbade anybody from pursuing the families of lawyers and court personnel. This is unexpected because Trump has previously tried to delay his trial, and a lot of people had assumed that he would.
Predicted that Trump would attempt to use this action. It's known as a Section 230 motion. You go directly to the appellate court, not the trial judge. You say, hey, too much pretrial publicity, move this case. Of course he was going to try it. By my count, it's his 9th delay tactic. Well,
Judge Merchan even penned the average after hearing Trump's recent attacks. Observers must now conclude that if they get even remotely involved in these proceedings, they should worry about their loved ones as well as themselves. This is because such concerns will inevitably obstruct the impartial administration of justice and amount to a direct assault on the rule of law itself. Judge Merchan has also denied Trump's requests to postpone the trial until the U.S. Supreme Court rules on his defense of presidential immunity in relation to a different criminal case. The court has also not yet addressed Trump's claim that he won't receive a fair trial due to unfair media coverage of his Twitter account. In addition to attempting to avoid legal repercussions, former U.S. President Donald Trump has proposed that the case be transferred to Staten Island, the only New York borough that he won in the 2016 and 2020 elections. He is also fully committed to reducing the significant fundraising advantage that President Joe Biden has as he continues to meet and confer with significant donors this week. Trump is well aware of the significant disparity in funding and has taken swift action to close the gap. According to numerous news outlets, Trump is already making every effort to secure contributions from as many people as possible, and his fundraising engine seems to be picking up steam. Republicans are making a lot of effort to unite people who appear to support President Biden's active campaign, despite the constant barrage of advertisements for Republican candidates. However, things aren't going as planned, particularly in light of the legal troubles some of Trump's associates are facing. There are rumors that this weekend's charity dinner in Palm Beach will bring in at least $50 million, and some people even want to keep it going. In a call earlier today, the president of Hush Hush himself stated that this campaign will surpass previous records. It is expected to eclipse the $25 million that the Democrats raised at their event in New York, where Biden spoke alongside former presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. With all the attention on the Democrats' hugely successful fundraiser in New York, Biden's campaign raised over $90 million in March alone thanks to his early advantage and strong relationships with wealthy donors. As a result, his campaign now has a staggering $192 million in the bank, more than twice as much as Trump's. There's pressure on Republican donors to prove they can stay up to date. Trump is closely monitoring the Palm Beach event, receiving reports from his advisors. Trump's Palm Beach fundraiser evening. Hedge fund manager John Paulson held a gathering in Florida that brought together major contributors to the former president, and supporters of his main rivals included financiers Warren Stevens and Robert Bigelow, who backed Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis, respectively.